Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Abdullah Samir. I'm joined by a special guest, Ahmed Sami. Ahmed, I was on his channel last week. He gave me a very hard time, asking me lots of very difficult questions, but it was fun. It was good fun. Ahmed Sami is a cool guy. I just recently got to know him. So he lives in the Middle East. He is a former Islamic YouTuber. So he used to be promoting Islam, which is interesting, very interesting. Which kind of puts him in a similar kind of spot as I was, where I was also like engaging the community and I was doing things, although I didn't have my own channel with my own self on there, but we're both coming from a Dawa background, you can say, right? So how's it going, Ahmed?
Hey, Abdullah. Good afternoon, good evening to you and your respected audience. And just would like to greet my fellow Arabs in the same manner they used to. So, صباح الخير إن كان صباحا مساء الخير إن كان مساء. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure, and I hope this time would be a useful time, and that everyone would benefit from it, and wouldn't be a waste of time. Thank you, Abdullah, again.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. So what I'm really curious about, well, for one, I mean, just to call this out, I'm amazed that this is even possible to do in the Middle East, to even talk about these things. Clearly, I think there is some risk involved, and obviously you and others who are, discussing these topics manage it in your own way. But wanted to start off with like your background. So tell me more about yourself. Like, obviously you're coming from a Muslim family. You're born Muslim. You grew up Muslim, and you got engaged in dawah. Like, how did all that happen?
About myself, I'm a math graduate, math and computer science graduate. Postgraduate, I did some philosophical studies, and then back then at the college time and right after it, I was Salafi. So I used to read a lot of books. I used to consider myself as Salafi, and used to oppose the rest of the sects, the Muslim sects. And then one day I used to sit in a cafe. In Egypt we have these cafes, and I got introduced to a lot of communist people. There was a communist movement in Egypt. And then I discovered that there was such a thing as an atheist, somebody who surprisingly doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe that there is a deity, that doesn't believe that there is someone who created the earth and the heavens and the universe. This was very a disturbing exploration to me. And I started more and more reading on the stuff, debating and communicating this and conversing with a lot of people, a lot of them. At that point, they were communists. They weren't really talking about God and whatnot. They were just interested about the concept of the communism and so on. God was just on the way, and they just had to get over it, to be able to vouch and to preach their own communist principles and so on. But this also took me into another dimension of that there are people who don't believe in God. And I took that responsibility, and then I spotted the weak points where people and Islamic apologists at that time, sheikhs and so on, they were very weak on. So the philosophical basis and grounds on how to talk people about God and so on. So I thought of let me take another approach. So those people, if you go to sheikh and so on, he will just start yelling at you and start frightening you.
You donkey, this and this.
Yeah, because this is to be honest, this is the approach of Quran itself. So Quran itself, took that approach. So in the early verses, in the early
Yeah.
surahs of the Quran, when it's supposedly descent from God, that if you don't believe in God, you'll go to hell. And this is the argument. So how do I convince you that that God exists? If you don't believe me, I'll kill you, and you will go to hell eventually. So that's like a convincing argument. This is a strong argument that they have. I didn't take that. I didn't believe that, and I thought that was really like a weak view on the matter. And there has to be another approach to be an Islamic apologist and to start preaching Islam.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I took, and I also found a lot of gaps and issues and things that really doesn't go with the proper and sound logic and reason in Salafi approach. So I start reading on the other sects. So there was Mu'tazila and there was Ash'ara, and those guys who built the concepts of Islam on philosophical background. So they took the Aristotle philosophy, Socrates, Socratic methods, and they took the philosophy coming from India and from Persia to serve the purpose of Islam. How can I convince you that God exists on philosophical basis? How can I convince you that God communicated with humans through prophets on philosophical backgrounds and so on?
Mm-hmm.
So I started my channel on this basis.
Oh, wow. So were you countering Salafis, or just like showing what you wanted, what you thought was correct?
I was countering Salafis, and that was like an inevitable encounter, because they don't like that. Salafis are against this. So Salafis are against logic and reason.
Yeah.
There is no logic and reason. There is scripture.
Yeah.
There is scripture. There is a big chain of people who conveyed the message. Okay, conveyed hadith and conveyed Quran. Okay, and you should follow them, because if you start deploying reason and logic, then why did they do that? Why did they keep memorizing hadith and memorizing Quran? So they realize they relied on that.
Yeah.
If you rely on someone else, on something else, on another approach, then you are defying their approach.
Mm-hmm.
Had this approach been a better approach, they would have adopted it. And you want to come like after 1400 years, and you think you're better than those people? Of course not.
Yeah. It's funny. This you came after. This method was up employed in every generation. You want to come after 500 years and say you know better. You want to come after 600 years and now it's like you want to come after 1400 years and know better. It's funny. That's very interesting, because I remember that I had some confusion about some of these things as well. For example, a very good example was, I remember when there was a debate here in the Toronto area in Canada between two, like, let's call them kind of imams. One of them was an imam, the other guy was a Dawa guy. He wasn't an imam, but anyways, the Dawa guy was a Sufi Ash'ari and the other guy was a Salafi, and they were having a fight about Allah coming down to the lowest heaven every night. The Sufi guy was like, well, he was using logic, and he was saying, if Allah comes down to the lowest heaven, you know, it's always nighttime in the lowest third of the night, the last third of the night. It's always night somewhere in the world. Whereas that doesn't make sense, because how can he come down? He doesn't have a body, whatever, right? And the guy's like, no. We accept the Quran and Sunnah. This is what the Quran says. And he was getting really mad at the other guy, and the other guy was like, but this doesn't make any sense. And the guy's like, no, you are following bid'ah. You are reinterpreting the Quran. The Quran says Allah has hands, he has hands. Allah has legs, he has legs. Whatever it means, we don't know, but he has legs, he has two right hands, and he's established on the throne. And so this was for me a very early introduction to this. So you actually faced this, and you decided to become someone that would, I guess, help other Muslims to see the way through these problems.
Yeah, I thought of the fact that there was a big issue with Mu'tazila and Ash'ara at that time. So there was they call them the Kalam sects.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are some sects in Islam. They deploy reason over scripture.
Yeah.
So they say no, we start with reason. So, for example, in Ash'ara and in Mu'tazila, for example, Ash'ara, Mu'tazila, and Maturidiyya. Okay, so for example, in Mu'tazila, there is no difference whatsoever between a Muslim who cannot prove that God exists using reason and an atheist who doesn't believe in God because he couldn't reach him using reason. So both are the same. Both are not Muslims.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing, the first obligation for each and every Muslim is to use reason to prove God.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this is how Mu'tazila and Ash'ara think.
Yeah. I was shocked when I found this out. Actually, I have to tell you this. When I went to talk to the Sufi Sheikh after leaving Islam, and he's like, your entire Islam is completely wrong. You were taught to read the Quran and to just believe in it like that. He's like, first you have to understand how to know God is real. And I was like, this doesn't even sound like Islam anymore. Like, where are you coming up with this thing? He's like, no. We teach our kids the Kalam cosmological argument. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. To the end of the argument, therefore Allah has to. So it's like, I was like so confused. It's so foreign to me. So for them, for Salafis, it's do you say in Arabic it's all about naql, not aql? It's all about naql, right?
Naql means transfer, and they mean the transfer of the scripture itself. So Prophet Muhammad said something. This is what they call hadith. Okay, so he said, don't do this and don't do that. Okay, then somebody heard this from him, so he conveyed this to someone who has not heard this. Then that guy, who they call him Sahabi, was the one who lived with Muhammad and heard this from him. Then he transfers this to somebody else, and then he transfers this to somebody else, and somebody else, and so on. So this chain of people, okay. So this chain, they claim that it cannot be wrong. It cannot be wrong that I know that your father, Mr. Samir, is well known for his good memory, and well known for his for him being a very good person, and he cannot lie.
Yeah,
and he's a very good person, and he has a good memory, and he cannot lie. Then he conveyed this to you.
Yeah.
Abdullah. Okay, Abdullah also is a very good person, and he cannot lie. Then you convey this to your son, and your son to his son, and so on. Okay, so this is this chain of men. Okay, they call this the chain of men, silsilat al-rijal. Okay, so they believe that it's the right approach for Islam is to believe the scripture that has reached you using this chain of men. Okay. However, the funny thing is, when you, let's say, if you do a debate with, let's say, Muhammad Hijab or Muhammad Dawa or whomever,
Ali Dawa,
Salafist,
Ali
Dawa, I'm sorry, Ali Dawa or Sabur Ahmed,
yeah,
those are the modern Salafists.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to a Salafi and you ask them, how do you prove that Islam is the right religion? How do you prove that that God or that Allah is the deity who created the universe? Okay, they wouldn't go for Kalam cosmological arguments. They shouldn't do that, because this is bid'ah, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay, this is blasphemy.
Yeah.
The right approach is to say that we have the message of God, we have the word of God, we have Quran. Okay, Quran has a challenge, and since you have not and you could not meet this challenge, then this Quran should oblige you to believe that this comes from God. Okay, and we have wahi, we have the revelation. Okay, so we have revelation, we have the word of God, we have miracles, and we have testimonies on miracles. Okay, so those are the proofs of God and Islam from the Salafist approach.
Yeah.
Okay, they shouldn't go on the philosophical approach and prove you that everything has a beginning, and every beginning has a creator or has a reason, and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's wrong. However, nowadays, if you watch any of the debates from any of the Salafists, the modern Salafists, they use Kalam approach.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
They caught up, eh? It took them 1400 years, but they caught up.
Yeah, yeah.
And they use
Exactly.
a lot of material from Christian apologists, William Lane Craig. I don't know if you know these guys, but they're very popular here. And Hamza Soitis and these guys, they're taking a lot of inspiration from the Dawah of the Christians, actually. What I
Yeah,
wanted,
actually,
yeah,
there's a strange I don't know how they put it. It's a strange mix because William Lane Craig and what was the guy who was the author of the I don't have enough faith to be an atheist? Frank Turek.
mm.
So, so,
Oh, okay,
so you'll find people like William Lane Craig and his organization, Reasonable Faith, and Frank Turek and
oh yeah,
other
yeah,
apologists. They use Kalam, cosmological argument of Al-Ghazali,
yeah.
of Ash'ari, and of Mu'tazila to prove God.
Oh,
And then this is where they part. After proving that there is God, they part from Islam and start doing their Christian apologist approach of Jesus came from the death and so on. So that's very strange. Now people are like gathering against atheists, and they're using all the tools they have.
that's funny. I wanted to ask you how, like, the problem I had with this approach is I felt it's strange to see, and I had a problem with it because I'm like, why would Islam need to borrow from Greek philosophy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I was believing that Islam is a true religion from God, why would it need to be updated with Greek philosophy? You know what I'm saying? How did you reconcile that? You didn't have a problem with that? You're like, oh, this is fine. I don't care. Like, it seems like there's a weakness in Islam if it needs that. Like, it's not, obviously it's not conveyed properly. I mean, to me, it was like, is it not conveyed properly that it needs to be fixed?
Well, borrowing is kind of like a usual treat for Islamic apologists, because they don't just borrow from Greek philosophy and Persian philosophy. The reason why it started is because after during the Umayyad reign, after the death of Prophet Muhammad and then Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, Yazid, and so on. So the reign after Khilafah after Muhammad, what happened is a lot of philosophers from Persia. They came over. They called them Manawiya from Mani. There was someone who tried to put together a couple of
Manichaeism, right?
religions. Was that?
Manichaeism, something like that.
I don't know what the English name for it. So sorry
Okay.
about that. So what happened is they started debating Muslims on philosophical background. So don't tell me Prophet Muhammad and don't tell me miracles. I haven't seen those. So
Yeah.
just talk to me reason.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were ought to start speaking the same language, and this is where it all started.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then later on, when the age of science and so on, they again borrowed the scientific miracles of Quran.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then when the age of the scientific papers and so on, okay,
Yeah.
they again borrowed like selectively. Let's pick. Oh, there is an article saying that there is the God gene. So let's pick this.
Yeah.
There's this renowned scientist who discovered that there is a God gene, and
Yeah.
this scientist is being tortured and is being oppressed from everyone because of discovering this. Because scientists and the West world,
Yeah.
they wouldn't allow anyone to prove that God doesn't exist and to prove that God is there and so on.
There must be a lot more conspiracy theories where you are compared to like what I hear over here. I bet you a lot of it has to do with Zionism and the Jews did this. And do you hear a lot of that?
Freemasons, of course. I'm Freemason. You're Freemason.
The funny thing is the God gene, to me, if anything, if you actually understand evolution, it's the opposite of a proof for God. It's like we evolved this beneficial survival belief. It doesn't make it's a naturalistic fallacy to even say because we have a certain thing, therefore it's true. Because we find a certain thing in nature doesn't make it good necessarily, right? I wanted to just say one thing though. The Mutaliza and the Ashari and in English, normally we wouldn't call those sects because those are all part of Sunni Islam. Those are more like, I don't know if what even the proper word would be, because it's kind of like a school of thought. School of thought usually refers to the madhabs, which for people who don't understand, the madhabs are mostly the fiqh, the legal ruling. So whether touching a woman breaks your wudu and you have to wash again, how you do the making up of the prayers and fast, all of those rules, those technical rules go under the schools of thought. What Ahmed is talking about here is the aqidah, the beliefs, right? And what makes a proper belief? What's the proper belief about God, about Allah, and stuff like that. Now, you talked a lot about what the Muslims do, which you seem to you understand very, very well, which is very impressive. How did you end up like for example, Isnad? You said the Salafis use Isnad. What's the problem with that? Like, what's wrong with that approach? Of you just said, well, I'm a truthful guy, and I usually tell the truth, and I usually don't make mistakes and all that. How did you did you have a problem with that, or do you still think Hadith is good? What's the issue with that?
Well, from one standpoint, considering or thinking about Isnad, I'm thinking about the ilm al-hadith, the science of hadith, as a special version of sociology.
Oh, okay.
So it's very good in terms of trying to convey, or trying to tell you what really happened in like how do I say it? It's like in a reliable way. Okay. However, it lacks a couple of things. One thing, from one hand, is you're listening from only one part of the story. You're listening from the story of the beneficiaries. So they there is no Muslim would come in and testify that no, Muhammad didn't have any miracle. Muhammad wasn't a prophet.
Yeah.
So you are trying to get a testimony of the son of the murderer. So he wouldn't testify against his father. Normally, wouldn't testify against his father.
Yeah.
And if so, nobody would and he wouldn't live enough to convey this, and nobody would retain his writings.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever he authored, there was a famous atheist in the early ages of Islam. He was called اسمه I don't recall the name. So there was a famous atheist, and he authored like 3 or 4 books.
Mm-hmm.
None of them we have now. We only have scrapes of it. So we only have a paper here, a paper there from them. It didn't live enough. Okay, so nobody would allow this to live.
Yeah.
All right. And the on the other hand, Ibn Rawandi, yes, thank you, Knowledge and Humanity, Ibn Rawandi.
Oh yeah.
So there is also another thing here, and I would borrow this from Hume. You are trying to put me in a situation where I have to believe something very strange and something even stranger.
What are those 2 options?
In Hume's viewpoint, in Hume's on the natural theology book he wrote, he said that there is 2 things I would have to believe. I'm owed to believe the things that is less strange.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would I believe? Would I believe that that a miracle happened and a stick turned into a snake? Okay. Or do I believe that all those people lied, deceived, or being deceived? Okay. So what is less strange?
Yeah. What's more likely, right?
Yeah. What's more likely? It's more likely that those people would be deceived or deceiving us, or something wrong happened. Something wrong happened in the transfer, and so on.
Yeah.
Rather than believing that a snake turned into a stick, or the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what I started thinking of, and the thing here is also the problem with scripture, especially in Islam, as opposed to Christianity and the rest of the religions, by the way, is that the problem is not in the content. The problem is in the holistic shield. So there is a holy shield. Okay, so there is a holy shield surrounding the scripture.
Oh wow.
to be able to start questioning the content of the scripture, you need to pass through this shield, and this shield you'll pass through a lot of oppression and a lot of discrimination and a lot of wars and fights against you, accusing you of so many things before you can reach someone who can tell you really this is this and this is that.
Wow, that's an amazing analogy. I never thought of that. Holy shield of Islam.
Yes. So the first thing you should do is to be able to penetrate this shield.
Yeah.
Is to start reading the scripture, and not just Islam, any religion. Start reading the scripture as if it's your very first time to read this, as if you're not Muslim. Remove all of this shield.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And try to start reading this. Can this be the word of God?
Mm-hmm.
Can the God around you that you know in science and the universe around you, can this, the creator of this universe, write this? Is it possible? Is it even possible? Can't you write something better than this? You would definitely find a lot of people who are able to write better teachings than this.
You know, part of the shield for people like myself is that you don't know Arabic, and I think it's different over there. When you just said, "Can you write something better than this?" I mean, I could write something that I would think is better in my language, but not in Arabic. Obviously, it's completely inaccessible to me without a couple of years of study, and even then, it would still be like, how well would my Arabic be? What about for an Arabic speaker? Do you think is it trivial to write something like the Quran, or is it like difficult? What are your opinions on that?
And this begs the question of what do you mean by like?
Yeah.
So
true.
By the way, you cannot write anything like me.
I can't.
And I cannot write anything like you. So I have to be you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you write anything that is exactly like me, I would say that no, you're just imitating me.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what do you want?
That's what happens, isn't it?
Yes. So what do you really want? Who who is going to be the judge? So if I say yes, okay, right? I will write something that is like Quran. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In eloquence, in rhetoric, and in good Arabic and good language and everything. Who is going to be the judge that is going to say yes, this is like it or not like it? Is it going to be a Muslim judge? So if it's going to be a Muslim judge, would you ever think or believe that he would say that yes, this is like Quran?
No.
And if it's not like a Muslim judge, and he thinks that really Quran is better than anyone, how come he's not still Muslim yet?
Yeah,
he's not Muslim still. So this is the question. But again, this is also begs another question. So what happened if I come to you and say that, hey, there has been a prophet 3,000 years ago in China, and he came with the word of God. And you ask me, how do you know he's prophet? I'll tell you, he came with a Chinese poem. Okay, that nobody in China at that time would be able to defeat or be able to come up with something like it.
Yeah.
Would this be compelling to you?
No.
Would this be convincing to you? You would say, okay, fine, I believe you. I believe you. So he's the prophet of China.
Yeah.
He's the prophet that really defeated all of the Chinese kingdom, and he proved to them that he can come up with something no Chinese can come up with.
Yeah.
So that's fine. That's fine. How can this be compelling to me? How can this challenge be to me? What are you challenging?
How do you judge it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you bringing this Chinese, and you would like to compel me with something that 3,000 years ago in China people wouldn't be able to defeat it? And then comes some silly challenge. Say that, okay, you're allowed now to study Arabic. Okay, study Arabic well and try to defeat it. Or why don't you go and ask Arab people?
Yeah.
If they could defeat it or not. So you are now want to build something that is the most sophisticated and the most complex and the biggest thing that you will ever have in your life, God.
Yeah.
And reforming your whole life and everyone's life around you. Okay. And you will hinge this belief on somebody else's assumption.
Yeah.
That nobody else, they told me that they couldn't defeat it. So I believe them that they couldn't defeat it. I believe it could not be defeated. I believe this is the best challenge that God can ever come up with.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will believe that this is the God.
Is it now this is a new one in the comments. It's a challenge to humans to invent better legislation, which is funny. That's not the challenge. The challenge has nothing to do with I don't know. Maybe that is a challenge. Maybe the challenge is whatever you want it to be. On one hand, it's a challenge to make better content. And some people say it's a challenge to be memorized by as many people. I mean, that's not what it says. It says to come up with a book like it. But yeah, you make really good points that like the Dawa people today, what they say is, well, you obviously can't, basically what you were saying, that you can't be the judge because you don't speak Arabic. So let's look at what the people back then, 1400 years ago, they couldn't defeat the Quran. So therefore it must be, and we have to trust that they couldn't do it. But like you said, I mean, do we really know? Like, the funny thing is, we do have some examples of like challenges like Musaylima and the challenge, the elephant with the ropey tail, and how these like silly examples are the ones that were preserved, right? Because like you said, who's going to preserve
Nice technique.
Sorry?
That's a nice technique.
Yeah.
That if I had I been a prophet at some time, okay, I would only preserve, as you mentioned, the silliest ones.
Yeah.
Just to make those people look like idiots.
Yeah.
Nobody could challenge me. I wouldn't really come up with a very good challenge, really, that people challenged. Okay, I would kill everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, oppress everyone, or try to buy everyone, do whatever. Okay, and then I will only preserve the ones that are really silly. So later on, when you look at this, you would say that, see, so people, this is the challenge. Okay, this man challenged Ahmed, and he come up with very silly things. Do you believe that, man?
Yeah.
Can you believe this? Okay, so this is how it's done, and it's actually this is like classic dictatorship.
Yeah,
this is the classic dictatorship from the 60s. If I have an opponent, okay, and there are some resistance, I will only surface the resistances and the opposition that are the silliest. The true opposition, I will oppress them. I will jail them. I'll just keep the why, because of the mob, the people. The only resistance that they would see is the silliest ones, and say, see, do you prefer this silly resistance to this dictatorship?
I didn't even think about that. That's amazing. That's a great point. I wanted to say one more thing about this, that, my friend Hassan Radwan, he's here as well. Hi, Hassan. He said something interesting to me because he studied this topic. He said that Islamic and pre-Islamic poetry, there is been a lot of cover up, you can say, over the last 1400 years, to the point where you can't barely find, the pre-Islamic poetry that represents the Quran. Like whatever you find, it's always like they have an explanation for it. They're like, yeah, this actually comes after the Quran, or it's like we don't have as many examples from before the Quran to show how this this sort of influence came. You know about a little bit more about this than I do?
Well, actually, if you know Taha Hussein, Taha Hussein was a great scholar of his time. It's like the early 1900s, and he wrote a book that caused a lot of hassle. And that book was talking about there was no pre-Islamic poetry. There was no preserved pre-Islamic poetry, because Arabs at that time, it was not like a written culture.
Oh yeah.
So there was no much people who would be able to read and write.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense if I write a poetry and then if I say a poetry and then write it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nobody would read it, so it doesn't make any sense. People used to memorize. So you say a poem and I memorize it. So this is how it's done.
Yeah.
And, actually, also to be honest, if you are an atheist, I see a lot of atheists trying to defy Islam on the wrong side.
Oh yeah.
Using the wrong approach.
Okay.
saying that Quran was inspired by pre-Islamic poetry,
Mhm.
and they come up with some poetry. How do you prove
Yeah.
that this is pre-Islamic poetry?
Yeah.
And this was pre-Islam.
Yeah.
So this actually sometimes
Backfires.
not just backfires. Sometimes it's preset. It's sometimes it's arranged. I would say that. For example, again, back to the dictatorship example, because this is all classic. It's all classic. If I would like to defy or to oppose a dictator in our region, okay, if I work with him, if I work in his organization, okay, what I would do is try to come up with some wrong rumors about him,
Yeah.
okay, and try to distribute those rumors,
Mhm.
those wrong rumors, okay, and then when they are popular enough, okay, then proven all to be wrong, then they come and say, see, this is the opposition, this is the resistance. They just go and spray wrong rumors.
Yeah.
So you must be right. So you
Yeah.
must be right. Okay. So back to the proper grounds. Quran was pre-Islamic. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if it was pre-Islamic poetry or whatever. I don't care about this.
Yeah.
Okay. I care about what's written in it.
Yeah.
So
The
is
content.
it logical or not?
Yeah.
Does this make sense or not? Is this the word of God or not? Can really God say something like this or not? If this is going to be the last thing that God is ever going to say and communicate with the human mankind, and then will just be silent and mute forever. If this is going, if you are, of anyone, any wise man, very wise man, going to say the last words to his sons and grandsons before he dies, what would he say?
Yeah.
What would he preach? And then this is going to be the very last thing that they're ever going to remember from him. Is this what he's going to say? Is this what you're trying to tell humankind, mankind? If this is the very, very last message to humans before you put yourself on silent mode till the end?
Yourself in silent mode.
So
you will believe, do not stay too long in the houses of the Prophet, for it annoys him. You should leave right away. It's kind of a strange decision to leave that in the final book. So how did you find your way to all of this?
Simply accumulation of reason and of so many doubts.
Was hell part of it? Heaven and hell? Did you think about the punishment in hell?
So there is a lot of things that I used to think of and then just shut off because of the Holy Shield.
Oh yeah.
And thinking that even Prophet Muhammad himself said in one of the hadiths, for example, that Satan will come to you and ask you, who created this, who created that, who created this, who created that, okay, until he comes to a point saying that who created God.
Yeah.
Okay, so what should we do? What should we say at that point? So Prophet Muhammad told you, until when he reaches this point, just stop thinking and say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Don't think that don't go that way. Okay, so Prophet Muhammad approach to oppose doubts and skepticism is to stop doubting. Just stop doubting and everything will go away.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Salafist way of doubting this. I use this method. So whenever I go to the extra mile in skepticism, I just stop there and say that there has to be some wisdom.
Yeah.
Like in Christianity, they say God works in a mysterious way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are you to question God?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you know about this and that? So like in Job, one of the jobs that so Job at a point in time when he started questioning, what did I do to deserve all this?
Yeah.
Why did you do this to me? So God's answer was very funny. So God's answer was, where were you when I created the earth and heaven? What the hell does that have to do with anything?
This is in the Quran, is it?
No. It's in the Old Testament. It's
Oh, okay.
in the book of Job. In the book of Job.
Yeah.
So, well, I did this. I did that. I did this. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Answer the question. Why did you do this to me?
Yeah.
And you know, I'm a good guy. I'm a good person.
Yeah.
I'm a holy person. I'm a holy man. Why did
Yeah.
you do this to me?
Yeah.
The thing was, God was just having a conversation with Satan. Okay, so there was some sort of like gambling with Satan.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you know, I can make this. You think Job is good? I can make him bad. I
Oh,
will do
yeah,
this.
yeah,
I
yeah,
will
yeah,
do
yeah,
that. I will do that. Okay, so this is a silly game between Yahweh and Satan. Okay, and the poor Job just paid for it. And when he asked for this, he said that just because you thought that you are good enough, I made this to you. I did all this. Why do you have to question me now? I did that, created the universe, created Earth, I created heavens, I created this, I created that. And then, okay, so why are you questioning me now? Okay, so answer is, there is no answer. You did this because you're just God, and you can do this. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
You did this because you can do this. It's as simple as this.
Yeah.
Because why not? I'm God. I can do whatever I want. Okay,
Yeah.
not just because you're a good person. This is okay. That's an immunization for you. That's you're not immune. Just being good, you're not immune. But you being good, and you think that you're good, then khalas. So this was my approach. That
Okay.
whenever I go to the extra mile, I just go back.
Oh.
Turn back and go back. There has to be something. There has to be something. But who am I to question God? Do I have all of the knowledge? Am I really that intelligent and to start questioning God? So on and so forth. But again, that's in one direction, and there's another question coming in, another question, and another question. So I said, okay, stop. Let's dig deeper into this. I cannot bear this anymore.
Yeah.
So I cannot be so hypocrite.
Yeah.
To my belief. So I need to understand this, and I thought that I could understand a lot of things, and then I got defeated by all of the doubts.
Wow. When was this?
That was that started around 3 years ago. When I started this, there is something wrong here. That doesn't add up.
Wow. What a story. I know Bud Ehrman, you know, I'm sure you know him as well. He also said that the book of Job was, again, I think he said it was his last straw before losing faith in God completely, because he was digging as well to try to understand the meaning behind all of the suffering in the world, because it didn't seem to make sense to him. And you know, he was this like biblical expert, so he knew the Bible inside out, but he still was having trouble with this. And when he came to the story of Job, and like you just described it, I believe he said that was the last straw for him. Like, he couldn't, this wasn't even an explanation. There wasn't any good reason for it, right? And we know, we see in the Bible, we see in the Quran, we see in all these books an attempt of humans to try, it's post hoc justification, right? It's basically, why are we here, Adam and Eve? Why is this suffering? Because it's a test. You know, why in the Bible sometimes it's even more obvious, like why is a pain of childbirth? Because Eve did so and so to Adam, or tricked him, or whatever, right? It's like, it's so obviously manufactured. It's so obviously, you know, not what actually happened. And then when you look at science, it's just, wow, you know, when you look at evolution and you look at the explanatory power, and it's not necessarily the case that you have to be atheist. You can be a Christian or a Muslim and believe in evolution and accept it because of the evidence. But it's just such a better explanation for things than these religious fairy tales, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's what I would say is it's not really made up, to be honest.
What do you mean?
Let me just comment on this comment. So one of my friends just brought up the word silly when I said that this silly game between God and Satan, and I said that you're not objective. You call your criticism objective. No, I'm not objective, Karim. So if you're going to pick like waiting for like a slip or anything against me to take it against me, fine, Kareem. I'm not objective. I hope you're happy now. Okay. And
I have to say,
I'm not going to be judged by anyone. This is what I say. This is how I say it, and nobody's here to question my methods and approach. I say what I want whenever I want it, and with whatever technique and way I want. It's as simple
absolutely. And honestly, it's I don't know. This is so hypocritical, or maybe it's just a blind spot in certain people. I'm specifically talking about Muslims here. Like, why do they say things like, oh, you can't trust this website, it's against Islam. Oh, you can't trust this guy, he's against Islam. You should look at what Muslims say. Well, should we trust you? You're Muslim. You believe in that book. You think it's from God. You're going to defend it. Like, are you objective? Is anybody objective? Everybody has a bias. There's actually a word for this. It's called the genetic fallacy, right? Like, everybody has a bias. Everybody has a perspective that they're bringing to the table. You can't just say, oh, you're atheist, or you're this, or you're not Muslim, or you don't believe, so I can't take anything. If you wanted to do that, you could do that, but you'd just be in your own little bubble, and you would never learn anything, because your bubble will keep getting smaller and smaller, because you'd only be reinforcing what you want to. You would only be hearing what you want to hear, listening to what you want to listen to, and just trying to convince yourself. Like, that's the ultimate narcissism. Like, only I can be right and nobody else, not only my perspective. Obviously Ahmed has his own positions, I have my own positions. I mean, even we don't agree on everything, but yeah, that's I find that funny.
Well, to be honest, also, yani, going back to the previous question, the concept of Adam and Eve was the historic human way of trying to explain things. So you cannot blame them of trying to come up with some explanation, because this is how the human mind is wired. When 10,000 years ago, when people turned from hunting to agriculture, they had a lot of spare time, and they start thinking and asking some luxury questions, like where we came from, what's going to happen after death, and the main and most important urging question was, am I going to die and that's it? I love a lot of people. So my father died, my mother died, my wife died. Am I not going to ever hear their voice again? Am I not going to ever meet them again? This very idea is very painful, very painful, and people wouldn't rest and just accept the brute fact that maybe nobody knows what happens after death. And this caused people probably to start losing the interest in life itself. So there has to be some hope merchandise. This is what how I put it, is that people trying to sell hope for others is that, no, of course not. There is an afterlife. Of course you will meet your loved ones again. Of course there has to be this, there has to be that. Of course there is ultimate justice, not in this life, in the afterlife. And then people, probably 80% of people would tend to believe some nonsense, some false doctrine over a harsh fact. That I would surrender to this, because this makes my life better. This would give me some reason to life. When you lose any other purpose of life, you will have to make up something. You will have to come up with some false purpose to be able to continue. And this is a psychological mechanism that it's easier for you to decide to believe that there is something after life. And then comes, okay, where this all come from. So you have to come up with something that makes a little sense. It all started with two, Adam and Eve, and so on. And so it's easier to sell. There were other approaches that the universe was an egg, and then the egg hatched,
Yeah.
and so on. Okay, so and then if you go back in time, considering religion as a culture, just a culture,
Yeah.
if you go back in time, you will find that whenever you go back in time, the story makes less sense. So whenever you go back and back and back and back, starting, let's say, the Chinese view, word view, okay,
Yeah.
you will find it's very foolish, very foolish.
Mhm.
And then when you progress in time,
Yeah.
you will find the story becomes fine-tuned, a little more fine-tuned,
Yeah.
a little more tuned, a little more tuned into as the human brain develops. It becomes more and more acceptable, a little more acceptable, a little more acceptable,
Mhm.
until you reach the point where you have a duality of a good God and a bad God. Okay, and then
Yeah.
comes the Abrahamic approach, the Judaism approach, that this is God and this is how he works. You can think of him as good or bad. This is it is what it is. Okay, accept him as is. He likes you, he loves you. Do the good things and you will be good. Do the bad things and you cannot judge him. He will punish you so hard. Okay, and then comes Christianity, and then comes Christianity as let's a makeover of God. That no, God is not that bad.
Yeah.
God is very good and loving.
Yeah.
He died for you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then comes the final touch of the Islamic touch, that
Yeah.
he is just.
Yeah.
It is justice. It's just justice. So you do the good things, and you get the good things, and do the bad things, and you get the bad things. And this is the most reasonable in terms of aqidah, as you mentioned, in terms of the basics of religion.
Yeah.
So this is how it works. Religion develop.
Yeah.
Religions developed over time. Definitely 3,000 years ago, you would accept that the universe was an egg. Okay, and then it attached, and then there was a God, and the God was breathing universes, and then the God melted down into the seas and oceans and rivers and so on. You would accept that
Yeah.
because you didn't have any other better approach. You didn't have any other reason. Okay, so Adam and Eve was the best that they could come up with.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is how this is, I put it this way, to be honest.
That's yeah. That's a good way to put it. I think that makes a lot of sense. Quite a few people are asking about why you're deist and not atheist. So can you just quickly explain what deism means in case someone doesn't know it? It's not a common term for most people. Everyone knows agnostic, everyone knows atheist. Some people don't know what deist is.
Well, again, to be honest, there is deism is not one thing. So many things, and even people started to categorize deism into positive, neutral, and negative deism, and so on. So I know deists like myself. I believe that there is a superpower, a prime mover. Okay, what this mover is, I don't know. No idea whatsoever. Is he an intelligent agent? Is he something like what they called like a conscious agent? I'm not sure. I know there is a reason behind all this, and there is some sort of a superpower. Is he one of the gods of their religions? Definitely no. Way from it. Way far from it.
Yeah.
Other people would like to believe that this superpower would have some characteristics of the religious gods. He is all-knowing. He is omniscient. He is omnipotent. He is all-powerful. He is and so on. For myself, it's to me something that it's just an introspection. I would put it this way. I cannot prove it. I can rely on some of the Mu'tazila Kalam cosmological constant, Kalam cosmological argument to prove that there is a superpower, or to, let's say, tend to believe. Let's put it this way. I tend to believe. I do not 100% surrender to this. I do not submit to this proof or argument fully. Do not surrender to this. But I feel that there is something out there. So if you ask me to argue or to debate with you, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Why don't you worship this God? If this God created the universe, He made you. Shouldn't you be thankful to him and worship him alone, and not the sun and the moon and the stars or like cows and the creation? Brother,
Well,
you are halfway to Islam already. You are half Muslim. Now you need to be fully Muslim.
yeah. So worshiping and being thankful to God or to that's a superpower. Actually, being thankful or being worshiping or something, it's also a man-made thing. So why would I thank you if you do something good to me? Why would I thank you?
Yeah.
Because this
Yeah.
would make a good society.
Ah,
This would give you a good self-esteem. So when you say thank you to someone, he'd be happy. I'm
Yeah.
happy this guy thanked me. So I will continue on doing the good things
Yeah.
because people are grateful. Okay, so if you do a good thing and you find that there is gratitude from people that you do this this thing to them, you would continue on doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how we make a happy society.
Yeah.
All right. So does God think the same way? So if I be thankful to him, he would be happy. If I'm not thankful to him, he would be mad. So I
Yeah.
control how God feel.
Yeah.
So how come I am the tiniest thing in the universe? I control God's feeling.
Yeah.
So definitely, if he created me, he definitely has this has nothing to do with worshiping him or thanking him.
Yeah.
Again, worshiping the master. Again, this is a man-made thing ever since the slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So you are worshiping or you are submitting to your master or your father. Actually, the very notion of God came from this father thing. So because this is how the humans as mammals are nurtured and brought up. So the nurturing period of a human as a mammal, it's the longest in all animals. So you stay for like 18 or 20, 22, or sometimes 30 years with your family, okay? With your father and mother and so on. This is the longest period in all other mammals' lifespans. So, for example, this is something like 1/3 of your lifetime.
Yeah.
When you stay 1/3 of your lifetime being let's say controlled under your father control and so on, and your father is looking after you and so on, and then you're suddenly outside of this organization and you're left alone with nothing. There is no father, there is no mother, there is no nothing. You would tend to believe that there is like a father out there, somebody looking after you. Okay, so it's like an inherited idea to love God. Even in Christians, they say "Abana الذي في السماوات," oh Father in heavens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like a father view. This is the biological father, and this is the terrestrial father.
Yeah. Extra.
Okay. So these two concepts, worshiping and thanking, it has to do with how we treat each other and the cause and effect of worshiping and thanking. Definitely, if there is a God, he doesn't think this way. So
that's amazing, and I love your answer. I just want to add a little bit to that, which I found when I was again studying more in science. I started to realize how human this God is. Like, they say that Yahweh or Allah is a jealous God, a God that doesn't want any other gods to be worshipped, God that gets angry. Like, all of these emotions are adaptive. All of these emotions are here to protect us, to make us survive. There's no reason for when I read The Selfish Gene, it's honestly an incredible book by Dawkins, and he talks about the most effective strategy. With the example he gives is hawks and doves. And he talks about how he breaks it down that the most effective strategy ends up being a tit for tat strategy. So either you can, like if you get into a fight, well, what do? You either give up and you just leave your resources, your land or your mate, or you fight back? What do you do? Right? There's different strategies. And he showed how he broke it down. He proved how the tit for tat strategy means if someone fights you, you fight back. Right? But you don't necessarily go and engage in, hostile behavior or whatever. And he showed how that's evolutionarily stable. Evolutionarily stable strategies are the ones that survive. And this is exactly how our emotions are. Like, we have this jealousy, we have anger, we have sadness. All of these things help us to survive. Why would God need any of these things? Why would God have any of these characteristics? The problem is, if they didn't describe, if God wasn't described like this, he would be like the god of deism. Like, it would be some abstract entity that has no real, like, there's no connection. Like, how do you connect with a god like that? You can't. It's just like you said, like, even worshiping is just a man-made thing. But like, if God has no personality, then how do you relate to God? How do you talk to God? So God needs to be this sort of human-like being, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's actually there is two reasons for this. The first thing is that when you start communicating this to people at that age and time, you need to speak to them language that they understand. So God is something that is not human and not from this universe. He's definitely not going to think like us. However, if you convey this to them, it's as if you're not saying anything. You're just talking nonsense.
yeah.
So you need to tell them something that they understand. And the problem is, as mentioned in Genesis, so God created Adam in his own likeness. Actually, it's the other way around. Actually, Adam, us humans,
Yeah.
we created God in our own likeness. So something wrote in some book that if horses were to create God, he would be a very big, powerful horse with very beautiful hair, and he's going to be the fastest horse ever.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's exactly the same thing. How would you create a God if you're human? He's going to be exactly the counterpart of you. He's going to be everything that is better than you, everything that you do, but better. It's a perfect version of you. So he's going to be a perfect human. He's going to be the perfect just. He's going to be the perfect powerful. He's going to have a completeness in every dimension. Okay. However, depending on your own personality and depending on your own psychology, he's also going to be the worst of you. So if you are bad, he's going to be worse than you. If you're doing bad in one department of life, he's going to be a worse doer in that department of life. If you are, like, let's say, oppressed in life, okay, he's going to be a very mad God who is punishing everyone because of doing bad things to you. Okay, if you are someone who is really exhausted and is really tired, he's going to be a very loving God. A very loving God who is very tender on you and like hugs you and do good things for you. So God is simply our reflection, and the difference between cultures and nations is going to be just the difference in experience in life. So depending on the journey of that culture and nation and civilization, you will find you can easily deduce and predict what their God was. If I tell you how China was, the Chinese culture, you can easily imagine what the God was. If I tell you how the ancient Egyptians lived and their life and their civilization, you can easily imagine their gods. If I tell you about the Greek, it's exactly the same.
Wow, that's a good point.
It's exactly the reflection of their culture and their psychology and so on.
That's amazing. Yeah, you do actually find that, right? Like what you said about the Greek gods, the Egyptian gods, the Chinese gods. I don't know anything about the Chinese gods though. I kind of want to stay on this topic, but there was something you brought up that I really wanted to ask you. When you said that religion is selling packaged hope, something like that, you said. And you talked about meaning in life, manufacturing meaning in life. How do you find the strength to go on? How do you find meaning in life? How do you find purpose? I mean, obviously, you're doing well. You're obviously motivated to speak about these things. You have a YouTube channel. You're almost at 50,000 subscribers. Congratulations, by the way. I'm looking forward to that. You're just around the corner from 50,000, and I'm at 45K, so I'm also getting there. And I know the amount of work and effort. I feel like someone that does this cannot do this unless they're intrinsically motivated. Like the amount of effort it takes, despite the hostility, and it's much worse being in the Middle East even. Like, how do you find the strength to do all of this without any sort of reward? Like, there's no reward for you to do this, right?
Well,
Or
actually,
even and just in life in general. Sorry, just to clarify.
I keep asking myself the same question because actually I don't have any answers. So sometimes I'm quite amazed by the people who keep watching me and keep following the episodes I do and the videos I do, because I don't provide any alternatives.
Yeah.
I know that religion provides a lot of solutions and easy answers to a lot of things. Provides like a canned purpose of life that you can take for granted. It's infallible.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfalsifiable. You cannot prove it and you cannot disprove it.
Yeah.
So it's easy to live by.
Yeah.
Well, let's wait and see.
Yeah.
Die and you will see what I'm telling you about. And then sometimes people say that the best merchandise is the merchandise that you sell in the afterlife. Yeah. Because no customer would come back from the death and tell you that you sold me a bad product.
No refunds allowed, right?
No refunds are allowed. Yes. So so the thing is, when I speak out, I say that guys, we need to think about this. So this is what I think. This is what I have in mind, and I only have questions. The thing is, I don't really provide any answers. I only have questions. Do you think that this is the right way to go? Do you think that this makes sense? Do you think that this is reason? This is logic? Can't we really come up with something that makes more sense? Is my only purpose of life will have to hinge on what happens after death? So why not create our purpose in life here? Why not live by the fact that maybe there is nothing after life? I'm not sure. I don't know if there is something after life or not. I'm not sure. I cannot be so 100% sure that Islam is wrong or Christianity is wrong or Judaism. I cannot be 100% sure about anything, because there is no proof and there is no disproof. There is no cutting proof that this is right or wrong. But what I can prove to you is what's happened here now. The life that we're living. I don't know what happens after life, but I know what's happening now while we're living. So let's make this a better world for us, for our children, and see if I can deduce something good from religion teaches. Why not? So let's pick the good stuff from it, and let's refine the bad stuff. Let's discard all of the silly things that come in religion. And I insist on saying silly because some people are really triggered by this word. So let's just disregard any silly thing in religion and focus on the good stuff.
Yeah.
Why not take this as another book of Hammurabi or Socrates or Aristotle and so on? Let's not just treat it as it's a word of God. Let's treat it as a word of a very wise man.
Yeah.
Okay, and deploy it, and that's it. I don't have any other, really. I don't know. If you ask me about my purpose of life is to say what I think, what I see right, what I think right, and is to continue on developing. If I discover later on that I was wrong in something, I would be happily wear it and say that I was wrong here, guys. Now I think the better approach is so and so, like I did when I was a Muslim apologist, and then now I turned around. So this is how it goes. Okay, what are we going to die and that's it? I don't know if that's it or not. I don't have answers. I wish I would. I had answers. I don't. If you have answer, please tell me. If you have a proof that there is something after life, prove to me this, and I will happily wear it, and I will happily adopt it. If this is the fact, I would submit to evidence. I would submit to facts, and not to just hope. So hopes wouldn't make any facts. I want يعني if you ask anyone, even you, Abdullah, if I ask you, wouldn't you love to have a loving God, justice, ultimate justice after life, and heavens and so on? Everyone would love to have so.
Yeah.
But I myself, I would take the red pill. Just tell me the truth, the face of truth, whatever it is, good or bad, rather than anything that just would make me feel happy.
So you're not taking Cypher's approach.
No, I wouldn't take the juicy steak approach.
Oh, you made a very good point, which is the problem with Islam, like as I'm going to put it, the problem with Islam is when your epistemology, your methodology of truth claims is that you put the Quran at a level above everything else because of who it came from, and then it's not judged on a fair base, on the same level as everything else, which is why it causes problems. It causes problems when you're putting that at a higher level, and for example, when it makes a claim that goes against evidence, you have to throw out the evidence. You have to throw out the evidence, or say, well, I don't care about that evidence because my evidence is better. My source is at a higher level than the rest of the evidence, and therefore you end up with all sorts of ways of dealing with this, either cognitive dissonance, or people basically ending up believing in a flat earth. I mean, that's far less common nowadays among Muslims. I mean, I've only met a couple of flat earther Muslims. On my YouTube channel, sometimes I get a lot of comments like that. Oh, it's flat, you need to watch this video about flat earth because then you'll understand Islam and you'll understand the Quran. Normally, most Muslims reject that. I mean, they'll say the Quran doesn't talk about flat earth, but the people that actually try to understand it the way they understand it, it's easier for them to believe in the flat earth and believe in the Quran than to try to mix the two together, which is what most people do. They try to mix the two together and they end up reinterpreting the Quran. So this causes a lot of problems. If we just put it at the same level as everything else, like you said, like Socrates, like Hammurabi, whatever, and this is Hassan Radwan's approach too, like let's just take it like another thing and take the good and leave the bad. I think that's an amazing approach. It's definitely not the approach of some people that believe that we should just throw out all of religion, and I'm not one of those people. I don't believe that's going to happen anytime soon. I think we've evolved to be religious, like put simply, right? And it's going to be a long time before religion is gone, and even if you don't have religion, we'll end up with something else that's going to be another religion anyways. That's what I think. But you take the approach that religion is okay, it's just that we need to continue evolving the religion. Is that how you would put it?
No, I wouldn't say not continue evolving, and there is a good reason why religions are not going to go away by any means.
What's that?
Because people, most people would tend to look for alternatives. So if you tell me that the religion is wrong, then tell me what's right. And people sometimes would, it's an evolutionary thing that at a point in time, people would try to preserve a lot of glucose in the brain. So tell me the easy answer. Not everyone would tend to burn a lot of glucose to think of alternatives. So I live because of this, that. I do the right thing because God tell me that this is right. I do the wrong thing because God told me that this is wrong. Now you need to think about another reason. Why would I do good thing?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I do bad thing? Why wouldn't I just commit suicide? Okay, not everyone is ready for this.
Yeah,
not everyone is ready to do the right thing because it's right, and not everyone is ready to avoid the bad things because they are bad in themselves. So they need it was easy, like a little child. You tell Adam, don't do this, don't do that. There is no luxury of illustrating and elaborating more of why this is good and why this is bad. So it's easier for him just to I'm just doing what my father asked me to do. Not everyone is ready to graduate from this stage. So people, because now the literacy ratio in and so you have a lot of things, a lot of barriers that would make people still need religion. So when someone comes, if you, I don't know if you get this or not, because I get this more than none. Is when somebody comes and tells me, why wouldn't I just go and kill everybody out there?
Or why wouldn't you just sleep with every woman that you come across, and why wouldn't you steal and yeah, basically, right?
Why don't I just
why are you a good person? Why do you even bother with anything, right?
Yeah. So why wouldn't I just sleep with my mother? Why wouldn't I just go and eat little kids? Why don't I just run over a little kid in the street with my car? Why wouldn't I do this?
Yeah.
When he asks you this, deep inside, he's sending you another message saying that I would love to do so. Yeah. However, my religion prohibits me from doing so.
Yeah.
So he's saying that I'm like a wild dog. Okay, I'm just held back by a chain in my neck. Okay.
Yeah.
Tied to a pole or something. Okay. If you allow me, if you break this chain, I would go and do so and so. Now, why you, Abdullah, is not doing so and so?
Yeah.
So this is the right question. This is the right phrase. The rephrasing the question. Now, is this guy ready to leave his religion?
Yeah. No.
Of course he's not.
No.
Of course he's not.
Yeah.
Okay. So
do you think in that way, if that's true, I think some people might think that, and they probably believe that that's what they would do, like some of those crazy things. And part of it, I think too, is the religion itself represses people and causes a sort of perversion of the desires. I don't know if you know what I mean, but like when you withhold people's, natural instincts to such an extent that, in many parts of like the Middle East and Pakistan and Muslim world, because you cannot date, you cannot get married until your 30s or sometimes even 40s, it causes a lot of unhealthy sort of, coping techniques, right? And so I think that's part of the problem. I also think part of it is a misconception from people that don't realize that if they actually did leave Islam, they probably wouldn't do those things, but they might have this like sort of phase where they go nuts. And I've seen that, right? Like they'll want to, like, they're like, people, because they feel that they've been sold a lie, they've been repressed, they'll go and do, like, they'll drink, they'll eat bacon. They're like, I want to eat bacon. I want to have bacon. And I'm like, I don't even like bacon. I mean, it's okay. Bacon's okay. I mean, it's not like the best thing in the world. Sorry, guys that love bacon. But there's a sort of like ritual. It's a ritual to kind of let go of your past. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like you're kind of like burying Islam. You're giving it a burial. Like, I'm done with this thing. I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna have bacon, and I'm gonna whatever I wanted to do. I'm just gonna do it. And then and then these people, after like, a year of doing these things, I see them in EXMNA, ex-Muslims of North America. They're done. They just go back to normal lives. They're done. They've let it out, what they were not able to do because of either the parents or whatever, the religious beliefs. And then it's just like normal. Like, if you look at me, like, I'm a married man, I have kids, I have a wife, like what are you gonna say? Like, why did I leave Islam? Like, so it comes up, it's even more like the character assassination, it just gets funnier and funnier. Like, people have said, I left Islam to buy a house. It's like, okay, you can't use the sex and the alcohol. Well, I guess I drink, whatever, but I drink once in a while, but like, what's left to accuse me of, right? Do you get stuff like that too?
Yeah, it's always an easy, ready-made canned accusation to you, because and not just in Islam, by the way, even in Christianity, you left the religion to live a sinful life.
Yeah.
Okay, I can still live a sinful life while I'm Muslim and always repent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it happened, it happened a lot, and it's in Quran.
Yeah.
Okay. So brothers of Joseph, they attempted murder. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And they told themselves, that's in Quran. They told themselves, kill the guy. Okay. and then repent, and
Yeah.
everything is going to go good. And this is what actually happened.
Yeah.
They attempted murder of the guy, then repent, and then he
Yeah.
told them that there is no sin anymore. You're good to go now, and it's you're good. You're all
Yeah.
set. Okay, so okay, I'll stay as Muslim.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go and commit adultery, and I'll just drink alcohol and eat pork and whatever. All right, and then towards the end of the day, God, astaghfirullah al-azim, I will not do that again.
And then
Okay.
most people do that, don't they? I mean, that's probably the majority of Muslims.
Oh, I'll tell you about Muslims. So what's the thing is, they do women, they do alcohol, they do everything, but they do not do pork. Pork, no.
Why? That's so strange, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, okay, why would I say that I left Islam or left religion just to be sinful? So
Yeah.
what you're saying, what you're implying is, I believe that Islam is the right religion. I believe that Allah is the God of the universe. I know that I'm going to go to hell for sure, 100%. I'm going to go and live there forever. Okay. However, after believing all of this, I still want to say that I left Islam to do so and so and so and so. So this means that I'm a psychopath.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I have any reason. This is I'm a psychopath.
Yeah.
Because you're sure that I'm doing this just to be sinful, just to do to enjoy my sins.
It's
So
crazy.
it's very crazy.
It is crazy. Like in every other part of life, we avoid harm. We evolve to avoid harm. So I don't touch a hot stove or whatever. I put in effort. I go to my job every day because I need the job. I need to survive. But this one thing, this worst thing that can happen to me, hell, burning in hell. And I mean, to me, by the way, and I bet you probably would say the same thing. When I left Islam, I didn't want to tell my family yet, meaning my wife and kids, because I was more worried about them going to hell than me. I didn't want them to go to hell if I was wrong. Like, let's say I was wrong. I was, doubting, right? And I was thinking, I have to be careful because if I'm actually wrong, I'll just go to hell and nobody else. But if I'm wrong and I tell them and they also go to hell, then that is the worst thing of all. So why would, if I really believe Islam, I mean, a lot of people say that you're probably going to come back to Islam when you believe Islam is true in your heart. If I really believed Islam was true, you think I would leave Islam? No, I wouldn't. I just keep my doubts to myself. I don't whatever. I have my doubts. I'm probably just something's wrong with my brain. Maybe I'm the psychopath for disbelieving in Islam, but why would I want to misguide other people? Like, why would I want other people to go to hell? I wish good on other people. And then I think in order to kind of make sense of this, Muslims have to turn you into some sort of evil person. You're shaitan because you're misguiding people and this and that. But it doesn't make any sense. Either you believe Islam is true and so you believe in it, or you don't believe it's true. And then why would I go to hell? Why should I go to hell for that? I don't know. To me, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like
it goes back to two things, if you ask me. The first thing is, this is what's written in the verses in Quran, and that all those disbelievers and so on, they do so for their own sins, because of their own sins. So they cannot come up with an argument better than what God came up with, what Allah came up with. Another thing is, it's really hard to accept that somebody is not believing exactly the same thing that you believe in. So you need to start pushing back. This is the rejection phase, the decline phase. Okay, if you back to the dictatorship example, if you see something that if you see like an opposition, a voice of the opposition, and saying that somebody is saying that this dictator is doing so and so, and he's deceiving you and bluffing you and so on, so the first thing that comes to your mind is that you are on somebody's payroll. Somebody's paying for you to do so.
Yeah.
You want to do it so because you would like to do something wrong in the society. You're destroying the and so on. Okay, so the first thing is to attack the person. Okay, so attacking the person by, see, you deep inside you believe that Islam is true, but you're saying so because you would like to do so and so and so. Okay, so start attacking the person. This is the first strategy, until you settle down and then start thinking that, oh God, yani, can anyone really believe that Islam is true and he willingly would like to go to hellfire? Am I an idiot? I believe it's true deep inside. I believe it's true, and I'm just vouching against Islam because I would like to burn in hell forever.
Yeah.
So this is how it's done, and it's in all religions, by the way. So even in Christianity, you see that some verse, I don't recall the book. It says that some idiot says that there is no God. He says so because he would like to delve in sins and enjoy his sinful life.
Yeah.
Is this your argument?
Yeah.
Is this how I should go and address disbelievers? Because I won't ever be able to make an argument better than the argument that God made in the scripture. God tells you that those people they are doing so because they are sinful.
Yeah.
They are sinners. Okay? What are you going to do? You're going to go and do Kalam cosmological argument. God didn't mention anything about the Kalam cosmological argument in Quran. He said that you disbeliever, you're going to go to hellfire.
Yeah.
Are you going to come up with an argument better than what God said in Quran?
Yeah, that's definitely the case. We're coming up to an hour and a half, and there's a couple of questions still that I don't know, do you still have a little bit of time?
Yeah, sure. I still have like 15 minutes or so.
Okay, so just on a personal level, just to ask again, because I don't know if you answered it, how are you doing post-Islam? How is your life? So you've mentioned a lot of philosophy, and I really love that, because, and even your channel is called Atheism Philosophy. I love the fact that you're using philosophy, because a lot of people tell me that, sorry, someone's spamming. A lot of people tell me that for them, you know, the arguments in the Quran, like attacking the Quran, is not the right approach, and it's better to use philosophical, larger questions about, you know, heaven and hell. Does it make sense? Does it make sense that God exists, suffering the world? These big questions, these big picture questions. But do you find that just quickly, like, how is life for you after Islam? Obviously there's some unfortunate things that like happen when you leave Islam, but like, how are you finding it?
Well, it's to be honest, it's not really a good experience to now getting to believe that it's highly probable that you lived your whole life like in a lie, like in a big lie.
Yeah.
And that's why, going back to your earlier question on ex-Muslims of North America, that people they start doing all of the non-Muslim things. Okay, I wouldn't say bad or good, because alcohol in itself is not bad. Drinking a lot of alcohol is bad.
Yeah.
And not because it's haram. It's just because it's not unhealthy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would say that most of them, those people left Islam on psychological backgrounds. I know a lot of people have gone through miserable events, very hard events in Syria and Iraq, and you will find that most atheists now are Syrians and Iraqis, because of what they faced from ISIL and Qaeda and so on. Okay, however, even if I agree with them on the end result, I do not agree on the approach. So if you're doing the right thing because of a bad reason or a bad cause, it's exactly the same as doing the bad thing. So if you're going to stay religious, stay religious, but for a good reason. To you, good reason that convinces you. If you're going to leave Islam, fine, it's okay, but you need to make sure that you left it for the right reason. You do not leave Islam because of ISIL.
Mm-hmm. But why not? Why not? Couldn't you say that is a manifestation of the worst part of Islamic doctrine?
Because not all Muslims agree with what they do.
Yeah.
Not even
Majority
Salafists.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, not even Salafists. They wouldn't agree with what they do. So you
Yeah.
cannot say that. If you'd like to put it this way, then I would say that this is kind of like a straw man fallacy. Let's be honest to ourselves.
Yeah.
If I would to leave Islam, I would leave it because the Quran doesn't make any reason to me. That doesn't make any. It's not coherent. It doesn't. Yani, what I know from the universe and from my studies and what the long way that we have come now in science and so on, this cannot be the God who created the universe.
Yeah.
He cannot say so. Okay, it's even this is not the wisest thing man ever made. Man, not just gods or gods. So if you would like to say that, I know nothing about the Quran, I know nothing about Islam, I know nothing about Hadith, I know nothing about the Islam worldview. I just know that there's some Muslim came by my house and killed my wife and kids, and that's why Islam is wrong, and I left Islam. This is wrong. If you ask me, this is wrong. What this says only is that that guy who says that he is Muslim is a criminal. It's as simple as that. This is his manifestation of Islam. This is his Islamic view of the world.
Yeah.
Right. This is not Islam, man. If you are an atheist now from ex-Muslim background and you don't know what Quran is and what Quran says, this is wrong. So even if I say that you are making the right decision, you are making it for the wrong reason. Okay, and this is wrong altogether to me.
Yeah, unless you understand the burden of proof, right? Because you don't really need to find any problems with the Quran if you don't have a good reason to believe in it in the first place, even if you're from a Muslim background.
But you changed your view.
Yeah.
So this has to have a motivation. Yeah, you were born as a Muslim. Okay?
Yeah.
Had you been born as an atheist, this is completely a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I was born as a Muslim. I did so and so and so, and then I changed my view. Why did I change my view? There has to be a reason here. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So since there is a reason here, so I have to I wouldn't just say, well, I just went back to where it all began. I reset. No, there has to be a reason. You have to be honest with yourself. Even if you just inherited Islam from your family, but then you took a decision to leave this inheritance. You cannot say that, no, I don't leave Islam. I just went back to where I came from. No, it doesn't go this way.
Yeah.
For myself, nothing really changed. For myself, being Muslim and being ex-Muslim, what changed? Nothing changed.
Yeah.
Only thing changed, I don't pray anymore.
Yeah.
And I used not to pray in some stages. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Every Muslim does. Do you want to convince me that a billion Muslim they pray 5 times every day, always?
Yeah.
There has to be like a sleepover here and there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't fast. I don't. Other than this, I'm still the same man I was.
Yeah.
Only I'm more accepting to other viewpoints. When I was Muslim, there is a lot of things that I did not accept.
Oh yeah, you couldn't. You were dogmatically tied to those things.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Now I am more open to any viewpoints. I don't have to agree with everyone. I don't have to agree with Muslims, with atheists. I don't have to agree with Christians. But I now can understand more that okay, this is your viewpoint.
Yeah.
I will take you the way you are. Without having to agree with you, I'm just agreeing with the idea that you have the right to think whatever you want.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that changed.
Mm-hmm.
Other than this, nothing. I'm still the same.
And honestly, like I had a moment like that too in my life. And my son, he said to me after I left Islam, "You're the same person." I was like, yes, exactly. I am. I mean, for people on the outside, I think they see this huge, like shocking change. And there was obviously there was an outer change. Like I don't go to the mosque or whatever. I don't pray 5 times a day, any of that stuff. But inside, I'm still the same person. I still have the same personality as I always did. It's just that I'm sort of free now from the burdens that Islam sort of tied me down with of I can't do this or I have to do this. So that's all gone. There's been a couple more questions, and I don't know if we want to get into that, because I wanted to ask you about the Middle East in general. So I'm gonna have to put that question aside because I think that's more important. What do you think about what's happening in the Middle East with Islam and ex-Muslims and Muslims, and the way the dialogue is going? What do you have to say about all that?
I think it's they are now slowly but surely getting to understand that there is something wrong. I wouldn't say that they would leave Islam. Well, and I'm not trying to make anyone change his mind or leave religion or go back to religion. I'm not trying to do so, and I wouldn't be happy if this actually happens, because I'm 100% sure that not everyone is ready to change his mind into this direction. What I would say is that at least they would be able to tolerate the fact that there are non-Muslims, there are ex-Muslims. The huge hype of attacking and accusing ex-Muslims with all of the things that we talked about, this should start to settle a little bit, slow down, accept the fact that you have Christians around you. You wouldn't be amazed to see, oh, wow, we have a Christian neighbor. Okay, the same thing would happen to atheists and ex-Muslims. You would accept the idea that your neighbor is an ex-Muslim and he's not Muslim anymore. It's as simple as that.
So it's much more fundamental than even getting people to leave the religion. It's just tolerance, and that's what you're basically preaching for right now.
I never said that I'm trying to make people leave religion. I cannot do so because I don't have any certainty. I don't have any answers. Had I been, let's say, Christian, I can go and do some preaching and so on, because I would like people to accept Jesus Christ. But what am I trying to convince people to accept?
Yeah.
What am I trying to convince people to accept is to accept the idea that there are different people, that are people who do not really agree with you that Islam is the right religion. Do you accept this idea? If you accept this idea, then done. My job is done.
Wonderful. I definitely am trying to change people's opinions, but not forcing anyone to accept. I mean, I like your approach. It's basically the Socratic method, or it's also known as street epistemology by some people, which is basically to ask questions and to see how people's certainty changes. Because a lot of people coming in with a certainty of 10 out of 10, they're 100% sure Islam is true. And simply by asking them questions, sometimes you can actually lower that. And they're like, oh, I never thought about that. Like, oh, that's a good thing to kind of ask, right? And so that's good to hear. And I guess I'll just ask you one last thing, because someone asked a couple of times. And what do you think about the prophecies of Muhammad?
Well, again, let's also put it in the Hume's way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, and as you also mentioned, and I think everyone would agree with that. So if you tell me a prophecy, you need first to convince me and prove me that he really said so. That's first of all.
Oh, yeah, because, true. Yeah.
Because for example, I'll give you an example. His uncle Abu Lahab, for example, it was mentioned in Quran that Abu Lahab is going to die, and he's going to die as an infidel, a disbeliever, and he is going to burn in hell forever. Yeah. And they take this as a prophecy. See, Quran says that so and so and so. Why didn't Abu Lahab just say that, okay, I am Muslim now, and he just defies the whole prophecy and proves that Islam is wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the answers, of course, we have a lot of replies to that. Yeah. But one of the replies would be that, how would you know? Maybe this verse was made after Abu Lahab.
Yeah.
So how would I know that this was actually a prophecy?
Yeah.
Maybe after his death, he came and say so and so. Yeah. And again, prophecies, they don't really work that way. Prophecies should be very clear. Each and every one would understand this. And it should be, again, as you mentioned, time bound. And that day, at that time, in that moment, this incident is going to happen, where nobody can really interpret this in any other way. But if I give you vague statements, and I tell you that in the future, there will be people who will be able to talk to their sticks. What is that? What is this prophecy? And then somebody else come and see, prophecy came true. Now
Yeah.
people can't talk to their mobile phones.
Yeah.
And what is a mobile phone? It's eventually a stick.
It's a stick.
Yeah. Is this a prophecy?
Uh,
How is this a prophecy?
Yeah.
So if you are if you, again, even a room, a surah of a room.
Yeah. Yes.
So they say, and the Romans have lost, and in some years they will win.
Yeah.
What do you mean some
It's
years?
mean, right?
What do you mean some?
Yeah.
Tell me they will win in that year, in that day.
Yeah.
So this is something I can understand.
Yeah.
Okay, in some years.
Yeah.
So I don't see any beside the fact that there are prophecies that are made up prophecies.
Yeah.
So for example, I have a prophecy, Abdullah. I'm going to kill you next year. So I can make this prophecy come true.
Yeah.
I can go to Canada next year and kill you. It's as simple as that. And see, I'm a prophet now. See? So again, are these weak methods? Do they really add up to prove something like God? Is this the way of proving God? This is God who created all this universe using this very weak, ugly technique, silly technique. Sorry, I forgot to use the word silly.
Yeah.
So is this the best thing that he can come up with to prove his existence?
Yeah.
This is the best thing. These vague prophecies that nobody can agree with, and so on. So that's very weird.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. So, okay, so I'm going to end it there. I wanted to thank you for coming on the channel, and a lot of people saying you should do more videos in English, and I have to agree. This was a really interesting conversation. I'm glad I had you on here, because on your channel, I was mainly just doing all the talking and we didn't get to hear your thoughts. So I'm really, really happy that I actually got to hear what you're saying. Do you want to add any final comments? So I'm just going to add Ahmed Sami, his channel is below, and all you have to do to find it is just click on the name in the title of the video and you will be sent to his channel. Please subscribe to his channel as well if you speak Arabic. If you speak English, he does have English videos as well, so you can still subscribe. He had Apostate Prophet, Cosmic Skeptic, and a few other people on there. And me, of course, most important of all. Do you want to add any final comments, any final thoughts, anything else you want to share? Just go for it.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you so much, Abdullah, for having me here, and I hope this around 2 hours or so went really in vain to at least some of your respectable audience. And what I would like just to say to any disbeliever, any atheist, whatever, a non-believer, that you shouldn't really be an anti-theist. What you should do is just to treat theism in general and religions as just some source of knowledge. It's a way of telling what happened back then, telling how people used to think, and learn from it. Why not? We learn from everything. You don't really have to prove something or disprove something. If you believe in religion, fine and fair. Just accept everyone else who don't believe in religion. Accept the fact that not everyone would believe in exactly the same way. Not every mind is wild as yours, and is believing exactly in the same way and adopting the same technique and methods and reason that you adopt. If you believe in religion, fine and fair. Accept that there is other people who do not believe in religion. If you don't believe in religion, again, fine and fair. But again, remember that there are some people and some intellects, some intelligent people who still believe in religion, and they have their own reason. You have to adopt that. You have to live with that, and eventually just try to promote peace. Try to promote tolerance. Try to promote the culture of listening to each other. Accepting the debate, accepting that people would still believe in their own way, and just live with it. Try to be against racism, be against violence, be against dishonesty, be against hypocrisy, and so on. So don't make religion your core priority to be with or against. Let's get over it. Let's now think of other aspects and dimensions of life. And that's it. And again, thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you, Abdullah, for having me here. It's been a pleasure and honor. Thank you so much.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it was great. Anyways, thank you, everyone. If you're new here, please do check out his channel. And if you're one of Ahmed's fans and you're coming on my channel, please subscribe to my channel as well. And we'll definitely be seeing you again. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thanks.